up, guys? Welcome to the October. Cold and dreary here. So it reminds me a lot of the place that I just got back from, which is the UK. If you guys haven't seen my latest video yet, I kind of give a short recap of that trip. I visited some friends there and we attended a couple of trade shows. I was there for about a week and most of it was actually work related, I would say. We only had about 2 days of, I guess, recreational time, I'd call it. The rest of the days were pretty busy between work and travel. So before we get too far into this, you see the countdown timer there. We'll start the coral selling portion of the show in about 9 minutes. Let me know how this stream is performing. I'm always curious to make sure that I'm curious to see if YouTube screws up, let's be honest. So I want to make sure that the microphone sounds okay and that it's not a completely jumpy, awful stream. Because right now I'm seeing, as far as YouTube is concerned, that there's not enough buffering capacity on their end. And on my end, I'm seeing it's a pretty clean stream from the broadcast software. So hopefully it's not a stuttery, jittery experience for you guys. So what is up, everyone? Hello, Texan boy. 2 please already with the $1.99. Awesome. So super chats are always appreciated. So thank you very much, 2 please. Diacanthus, I see, is in here. Mike Spencer, Snow Bunny 426, The Salty Reef, Antonio Perez, Gabriel Berkey, Stephen Hurst, Homegrown Reefer, Mike Spencer, Jeff Jerry, Corey Rittenauer, Jeff Thomas, Rossi. Yeah, okay, so those are the quick shout outs there. So Rossi was asking, whose tank is this? This was one of the show tanks that I saw over in the UK. This was a store called Advanced Aquarium Consultancy, and that's located in Essex, about an hour away from London. And they had several really nice show tanks. This is by far the largest one. If you can believe it, this tank is only 3 years old. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I don't know if I show any of the other show tanks just in this little countdown timer, but there was a really cool soft coral one that's mostly daylight lighting, and there was also some clips from their coral farm, it's on the same site, but it's not open to the public, and it looks really clean. So if you guys haven't seen my UK trip update video, it's worth taking a look at. It's kind of interesting. Gabriel, missed you at Reefapalooza Chicago. It was awesome. Glad you had a good time, Gabriel. I've never been to a Reefapalooza, if you can believe it or not. I don't get to travel a whole lot, which is, again, kind of surprising that I would have attended 2 shows in the UK. So I do have a kind of a funny story. So I do business with Ecotech, right? And I've met my personal rep, but there was another sales guy there named Jay, and he's the one that usually goes to all the trade shows and stuff. And he was at both of the trade shows in the UK. Now, Ecotech is located in Pennsylvania. Tidal Gardens is located in Ohio. We're 1 state apart, probably maybe 6 hours away. And I've never met Jay in person before until the UK. So we were kind of like just joking about that. It's like, of all places, oh, by the way, this is the coral farm section that I mentioned earlier. So yeah, just talking about how it's so crazy that of all the places that we would finally meet face to face, it would be all the way over here. Good. It looks like getting some feedback on the stream quality. Excellent. So Cody is asking, Cody Rittenauer, where's the best place to get boxes for shipping corals? So it's kind of funny. There's a bunch of places where you can order it from locally to you. Most of the time, it's gonna just get from that person, get called in, and it'll get drop shipped from their main supplier. So for example, when we need like a whole bunch of pallets of boxes, this boxing company that's like located in Ohio places a phone call to like Kansas City or something like that, and it comes by freight from there. Otherwise, I think you can just like find little packaging places close by. Now, I wish that I could go directly to the Kansas City folks, because I did ask, and they said, no, we kind of like work through our distribution chain, and you're not buying enough volume to justify that. So that's what I do. Okay, so Max Chiarella, he's never done this. How does this work? So the first thing that I would suggest is go to tidalgardens.com/live. And there you're going to see all of the items that we have for sale for this live show. They're just going to be numbers. So it'll be like item number 1, item number 2, item number 3, whatever. I think we're going to be doing nearly 200 corals just for this live show over the course of the next couple hours here. So if you're assuming that you're in the United States, you can just make purchases, just toss them into your shopping cart and check out like normal. Now, depending on how competitive the purchasing activity is, it's a good practice to purchase them as you go rather than saving it until the very end to check out. Because if you save it until the very end to check out, it's entirely possible that other people have purchased the stuff that you had tossed into your shopping cart. So yeah, take a look at that. And there's also like a Q&A on kind of like how that works if you needed some more detail. Like shipping is $39.99. It's free once you get to $250, things like that. Sorry, I'm catching up with chat here. Sean Clark, Amex, here I come. Awesome. Hey, Sean, I can use it. Trust me. I got big bills stacking up now. Damian Divine. Hello, all. Also newbie. Newbies are welcome, and by all means, toss some questions in the chat. If I don't get to it, there's plenty of folks I'm sure that can help you out with their suggestions. It's really crazy that people can have such different experiences in this hobby. A new part-time person, a new old part-time person, I should say, started back for me, and he's bringing in corals that he had purchased from me that he had colored up in his tank, and we're using roughly the same lighting, like the lighting technology, like T5s. He's using T5 ATIs, I'm using ATI, and he's getting completely different results. He's using the same salt as I am. I know many people, it's like, oh, differences, it must be the salt. No, because he bought a whole bunch of buckets of salt from me. So yeah, it's really weird how that goes, and we don't do nearly enough like tracking of all this to really figure out exactly what the differences are. So multiple perspectives always welcome. Thank you. Online 30 to 45 a box for shipping coral seems crazy. You should see what the actual cost is, because for most places that are shipping coral, I bet the actual cost of that box after discounts and everything is probably closer to $60. So anytime that you're seeing less than about $50 to $60, it's the company is paying that portion and it's built into the price of the coral, which, by the way, we are looking at doing later. So there's that. Gabriel is asking, did you get that watch from your Instagram? No, I wish I did. So if you know what he's talking about, it was a platinum Omega Speedmaster, and that watch is, no joke, $50,000. So no, I did not buy it. All right, guys, almost ready. Hopefully when I make the little transition, it doesn't bomb out on me. Fingers crossed. And I will get to the Patreon shout outs in just a sec. 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Perfect timing. So you see in chat there, too, please, shouting out the Patreon donors. The guys at the $5 and $20 tier get a shout out. So thank you very much to Juanita, Reef_Daddy, Jeremy Altman, aka 2 Please, there you go, Nick Korn, Sean Gill, Bill Russell, Brandy Camp, Tim Garner, Harkins Aquatics, Diane Rishworth, Jennifer D. Nash, Zara McIntosh, Catherine Kehoe, Anne Lyons, Gwen Nicodemus, Lisa Lacry Fine Art, Christopher Frame, Tasha Radich, The Classroom Reef, Chuck Admire, Green, Jean A. Van Voorst, Rico's Aquariums, Christopher H. Curry, Alan Jackson, Trevor Joseph Overbeck, Kevin Cortez, Steve Pond, Ryan Kern, Nate Bowler, Ernest Wallace Jr., Dave Davis, and Elizabeth Dowell. Thank you all very much. Okay. Getting my screens resituated here. Good, good. Aaron's Aquarium. Hey, Than. Hello, Michael Aarons. So he was one of the YouTubers that I met for the first time in person over there in the UK. Eco Marines trolling me like usual. So Eco Marines was the company that I was staying with. So I have a lot of thank yous to spread around there. Like that was very hospitable. Let's just say that. I had it's Laura from Eco Marines took me all around London, and nobody goes to London, I guess, because it's a pain to actually get in and around in London. So even though she lives an hour outside of London in Essex, she was willing to take me in there so I can take a look at shoes and suits and expensive watches that I can't afford. So thank you very much, Eco Marines. Yeah, Corey, no, I'm just talking about buying boxes for shipping corals empty. That's right. Yeah, that's what I meant. You can buy boxes from like shipping and packing companies. Yeah. So you'll just find one that's close to you. It's going to be some no-name mom and pop outfit, because the really big places won't sell it to you direct anyway. So yeah, so if you just do a search for styrofoam shipping containers, shipping boxes, or something like that, you'll see all the local places that carry it. Joe Gomez, no costume yet this year. No, I was thinking about recycling an old costume that maybe I didn't wear much of or something like that. Then I decided, I'm just not feeling it this year. Not so much. I wish I was, because Halloween is my favorite holiday, but I got nothing. I have no inspiration this year. Okay, so Snowcat Gaming is wondering, what chemicals, C-Chem, Fritz, etc., do I like? We aren't particular when it comes to a lot of the additives that we use. And let's see, we've used a bunch of them in the past. We got some samples from Fritz. We got some samples from Brightwell. In the past, we've purchased some stuff from Two Little Fishies and some other companies. But no, we don't really mess with too much hardcore. I think the only thing that we dose regularly is the alkalinity portion of ESV's B-Ionic. And no, I'm not being sponsored to say that. So in the future, we might do some sponsorship agreements with companies, but I mean, I would in a perfect world, I would really like to have used their product for a really long time. So I'm comfortable with my recommendations. I think most of them are probably very good. The one that I'm kind of interested to try is the stuff from Red Sea. They were one of the companies that I had spoken to over in the UK. and I came away really impressed with, I guess, their like hardcore dedication to growing coral and coral nutrition. There's just like so much that, like, just as a coral farmer, we have, even though we're in the industry, right? We have this 30,000 foot view of everything, because at any given time, there might be dozens of colonies that might be struggling. There might be some things that are doing really well, but not colored up well. And it's really difficult to kind of like juggle all these different parameters that could be the cause of some of these successes over here and some of these problems over here. But a company like Red Sea, or who knows, like probably Brightwell, Fritz, any of these companies, right? You fill in the blanks with your favorite company that sells chemical additives. They can actually set up experiments and really like nail down with controls and A/B testing, whatnot, what is actually making a difference for them. Like for an active coral farming operation, it is really difficult to pin down any one thing. So that's kind of like why I don't exactly have like a very strong opinion about any kind of additive. It's just because it's like, I can't say for sure that it was that additive that did anything. The only additive that actually I know did something was quite negative, and I try not to trash companies too bad, but I did not have a good experience at all. So since then, I've kind of eliminated any kind of ultra low nutrient methodology, no carbon dosing, nothing. So that's kind of the background there. But long story short, getting back to the whole Red Sea talk, they have a product that I have not used before, but I'm super interested in. It's called Reef Energy, and right now the formulation, there's an A and a B formulation for Reef Energy. And the guy told me that dosing Reef Energy, which is like, I think, vitamins and amino acids, and it's like a liquid formulation, can provide 100% of a coral's nutritional needs, including non-photosynthetic corals. So I'm like, I'm super interested to try something like that. So again, I haven't tried it, but that's something that I'd like to see. I really like the shark costume you had. It was hot though. Yeah, Rossi. I was this close to breaking out the shark costume. Then I'm like, you know what? I think I would just rather be comfortable, because today would not be a bad day to put it on, for the simple fact that it's really chilly out. So that just goes to show you how crazy like the weather is. So I remember like a few years ago when I wanted to wear the shark costume for the Halloween show, that it was like 80 something degrees outside in the greenhouse. And now it's like I can totally wear a down jacket in my studio in the new building that's heated. Crazy. Lee France. Hi, Than. It was nice to meet you at Coral Freaks. I was the one running the frag swap corner. Okay. Yeah, very nice to meet you. Two please, $1.99. Thanks again for the super chat, two please. I'm kind of torn between Red Sea and Tropic Marine. Yeah, I heard good stuff about both. I've never tried the Red Sea salt. I've never tried the Tropic Marine salt. Yeah, so right now the salt that I use is called Omega C. Nobody uses it. It's a small Ohio company here that really specializes in like seafood more so than like salt manufacturing. But it's just a salt that I've been using for a really long time now, probably about 6 years, and I haven't had any issues with it. Things are doing well enough, and the whole thought process behind me even going with them all had to do with their ability to deliver it to me in a convenient fashion. Because previously I was using Instant Ocean and Reef Crystals, had plenty of success using their products, but it was a real pain in the butt to order, because they go through big distributors, and big distributors want to ship the salt to you in a full-size semi, and I can't get a full-size semi up my driveway. So long story short, I went with the more convenient option that could put it on a lift gate, short truck that could just like wheel it right into my little warehouse. So Yeah, nothing chemistry related, purely on like logistics and convenience. Alfredo Reyes Deus. I used Reef Energy for over 1 year, but I couldn't see any difference in the tank, so I stopped. Yeah, yeah. I'd be curious, Alfredo, if you tried it again to see if you would notice any difference. And the reason why I ask is because we were dosing amino acids into our SPS system, and we basically ran out of the amino acid, and we stopped using it for like a few months because I was lazy and I didn't want to reorder anything. And eventually, like months after the fact, I got another container of amino acids, and we started to dose that again. And I swear within 2 days, I noticed an immediate difference in the SPS. So previously when I was dosing amino acids, the first round, I thought that the SPS were looking really good. I was like, wow, this is great. And then, yeah, things kind of tailed off a little, but I kind of blamed it on the summer weather, and because we were going through like hot spells and stuff like that here. We had a really, really, really blazing hot summer. So I just kind of tacked it up to, yeah, it's terrible weather for growing corals in a greenhouse. But once I started to do the amino acids again, like literally 48 hours, I was like noticing a difference in coloration. I'm thinking, yeah, let's not run out of amino acids anymore. Let's just keep doing this. Greg Reef Boy. Hey, Than, thanks for sharing the video of your UK trip. Beautiful show tanks they had. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that place, AAC, they did a really good job with their show tanks. It was like very clean and well kept, and like the growth was insane. Absolutely insane. Stephen Hurst. I've been dosing Vibrant lately for a green hair algae outbreak, and it's actually been working really well. Funny you mention that, Stephen. So my new employee, Luke, was just saying that he was using Vibrant lately to handle something, and he had some zoanthids, and too bad like we're not in the zoanthid section anymore, but he had some zoas that were kind of like half closed, and that's always kind of like slightly suspicious. Whenever I see half closed zoas, I always think it might be pest related. But he was saying that some of these half closed zoas started to open back up for him after dosing Vibrant. And I was asking, like, so who makes Vibrant? And he's like, I don't know. I think it's just its own company. I'm like, okay, yeah, because I hadn't really heard of it. And this is kind of like a worry that I have. See, there are so many chemical additives out there now. Like if you just look at like the Brightwell catalog of stuff, I swear they must have like at least 150 different chemical additives, right? And since having had a bad experience one time, not with Brightwell, but with another company, like I have way too much at risk to just to try new stuff. Like I did the whole try new stuff once. I lost 30% of my corals after like 1 month. It was a bad experience. So like these days, like unless I have like a tiny aquarium, which I haven't had like a tiny aquarium off to its own for 20 something years probably, I'm not going to be trying it on any of my systems. So that's kind of like, there's so many products I would like to try out, but I'm not going to try it out again with putting in so many corals at risk. I just can't do it. Okay, so Gabriel Berkey says, Tropic marine salt does not leave that brown sludge in your mixing bucket like Red Sea does. It's a cleaner mix. Interesting. So I use, like I said, omega sea salt, and I've never really had to deal with any kind of sludge thing because I didn't have a mixing station. Now I do have a mixing station, so I make up roughly 900 to 1,000 gallons at a time. And I hadn't cleaned it for a couple months of doing it, so I probably went through about 3,000 gallons of salt. That would equate to about 18, 19 maybe buckets, and there was definitely brown sludge down there. And so what we did was we hosed the whole thing down, pumped it all out, and started fresh again. 1,000 gallons, looked at it again, gross again, brown. So it might be one thing that we just have to clean out every single time we do 1,000 gallons of water makeup. But it'd be nice if it didn't do that. So it's interesting that you're saying that Tropic Marine doesn't have that issue. Does anybody know if Fritz has that issue? For some reason, I remember somebody saying that Fritz mixes clean also. I know that one person I talked to switched away from Brightwell because of that issue, and he switched back to Reef Crystals, which is notorious for that issue, but he felt more comfortable with it. So who knows? Okay, so Sinoche says it's a little jumpy at the beginning, but so far so good. Okay, good to know. Yeah, ooh, so I'm noticing like a couple of like little red patches, but I think we're in the green now. So hopefully it's not too bad for your viewing experience. I am totally blaming it on YouTube this time because I did a speed check and I should be well under their threshold. Get it together, YouTube. I'm going to start using Reef Chili after I run out of my Reefroids. So Reef Chili is one of those products that I have not tried yet. I should one of these days. Like what we're currently going through right now is a powdered food by Coral Frenzy. So I met the owner of Coral Frenzy. He's actually from Michigan, and nice guy. And so far so good with the powder. But again, we use so many different things that it's always hard to pinpoint, you know, what is the thing that's good. Vibrance is a bacterial product. The bacteria eats the algae. Okay. So I wonder, so that was Ecomarines contributing that. Now, it's interesting because I wonder if it's like the algae that's bothering the zoanthids that was keeping them closed, which could be. I've seen that sort of thing happen a lot. And I apologize if I'm like wholesale missing commentary. I'm kind of like picking just stuff randomly. So if I missed you, sorry. Hey, Reef Dudes is here in chat. Cool. How's it going? Let's see. Sitting in the hot tub with coffee, watching the live show on my phone. Excellent way to get a start to the day. Don't drop your phone. Okay. So Red Sea is from the ocean. So actually, I heard that Red Sea, even like the evaporated stuff, also is partially synthetic. Just what I heard. I've never used their salt though. Too Please says he's never had sludge from Red Sea Coral Pro. So here's the thing about like salts. Like, hopefully you guys know my take on salt. I have almost no take on salt. Like I'm just kind of like relaying things that I've heard and things I've tried, but I've tried very few salts, and I think for the first time that I can ever remember, there is like this like tribalism that goes with like salt brands, as if like the salt is the reason for everyone's success. Like that to me sounds a little crazy, to be perfectly honest. These salts really should be way, way, way more similar than they are different. And again, like the way that I chose my salt was purely on delivery logistics. And maybe I got lucky, but it's worked out. The other question I'm wondering is like, do you guys ICP test like your salt containers and stuff like that? Because like now that I'm having my little like brown crud problem, I was given at the UK trade show by the guys that do the Triton method. They gave me like 2 little samples of ICP test things. So they're like, hey, just give it a try. I'm like, cool, thank you so much. I'm gonna test my freaking water first and foremost, because like hopefully there's nothing like crazy wrong with it. And I've just been using a salt that I've never tested before, never done an ICP test. And yeah, who knows, like maybe like some like the weird wonky issues that you every now and again see, like it could be tied to that salt, like who knows. But it'll be insightful just to see like how that goes. Aquaforest mixes very clean. Yeah, one of my customers in town, he uses Aquaforest, and he does not have any issue with his saltwater container. The only thing is like his saltwater container is 30 gallons, whereas mine's like 1,000. So it's kind of tough to compare. Okay, cool. Yeah, so some folks are saying that they had to like hit the refresh button on the stream. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll see if YouTube manages to like keep it together. YouTube. It wouldn't be a Tidal Gardens live stream without some kind of audiovisual goofiness. I'm so used to it after all these years. I think this is maybe like my 5th year of doing this. I have seen everything possible go wrong on these live streams. So this one, yeah, if you're seeing some kind of skipping and jitteriness, just blame YouTube. It's on them. Okay, would you say that LEDs need to be replaced after a certain amount of years? I currently have no issues with my Kessil A360, had them for about 4 years. So I don't think that there's like a good reason to swap out an LED fixture because of the LEDs themselves. The LEDs themselves usually have a very long life before they start getting kind of crazy. Usually what fails is everything else. If you have fan units, those are going to go way sooner. Any kind of corrosion on the circuit boards, that's going to make the fixture go way sooner. So if anything, I mean, 4 years, if it's still working great for you, I wouldn't change anything. We are almost at the complete last little bit of end of life on our Aqua Illumination Soul Blues. We have like maybe 4 remaining. It's like a 10-year-old light fixture, and there's like corrosion all over the place. Some of the fans don't work, and we actually have to stick another fan on top of the heat sink to make it not power itself down. But they still work okay as far as like their ability to cast light. I mean, they're like several generations old though. Anything nowadays should be better than that light. So it's kind of time. Amy Bruner, I'm a newbie, but could the salt sludge problem also be related to what water you use, some kind of chemical reaction? Yeah, it is possible. In my case, it's unlikely just because it comes out of my RO system at 1 part per million. So there's not a whole lot for it to react to other than H2O, really. Than, where's your IPA today? No booze today. I need to take it easy on drinking. So when I was in the UK, I had a total of 2 alcoholic drinks. I had one at a place, because we were out with like a bunch of the companies, and the first place we went to was a place called Liquor Lab. So you can probably imagine what they do there. And then I think I had like a glass of wine at the banquet. The banquet that I checked out of at about 9 o'clock in the evening. I think everybody else stayed out till about 3 a.m. I was in bed by about 9:30. I am the most fun guy in the room, let me tell you. So when's the Christmas party, Fan? Funny you mentioned that. I actually am having a Christmas party, but there's like 5 people invited. No big Christmas party on my end. So one of my high school friends, she wants to throw a birthday party here, and I would love to host her birthday party here, but I'm slightly worried because she's the closest thing that Akron has to like a socialite. She's like really connected in like the political community and the art community and like all kinds of different like social program nonprofits and stuff like that all throughout town. I mean, she's connected all the way up to the mayor. And like I said, okay, if we're gonna have your party here, you have to limit it to 100 people because like she could no problem get 400 to 700 people to show up, like no problem for a birthday party. And she wants to do this. If you guys have seen Back to the Future, that prom scene where it's like that 1950s prom, well, the theme of that prom in Back to the Future was under the sea. So she wanted to do like a prom theme here and rent a DeLorean to show up in. So yeah, she knows how to party. And so yeah, I would love to do that for her. Good friend, but it's like, oh, they're gonna completely obliterate my place, aren't they? So like limit 100 people, we'll see how that goes. Nasty Nemo, I met you at the UK at AAC. Awesome. Hope you had a good time. Jeff Jerry, I wish all live sale vendors would show you the color temp. It gives you a better idea. Yeah, they don't because it's hard. It's actually difficult to do. So what he's talking about is, you see that little thing in the bottom left there? It says like the color temp. That is a special effect that I have to apply. So it is real time changing the color temperature that you see as the clip plays. So you're like basically seeing like daylight coloration to start with. So we're looking at some SAMMOCORA here, and you'll see how it transitions from a daylight color to like more of like a 10K color all the way to what you might see in actinic. It's not perfect because I think that there's some subtleties, especially towards the actinic end, that it doesn't catch because it's a special effect. It's not like a practical effect, meaning it's not actually getting hit with a 20K light. So you kind of have to fill in some of the blanks, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Please, my birthday is Christmas Eve. Can I come? We'll see what we can do. We'll see that's a long way to travel for my Christmas parties. They're not that fun. No, they're a good time. They're a good time. I was about to say they're not that fun, but it's like, no, that's not even true. It's a really good time. Yeah, Enchantment Under the Sea. Yeah. So yeah, I'm all about it. Like I'd love to like do the whole black tie, prom themed thing. And so like every single person that like especially the girls that it comes, this party comes up in like casual conversation, and the girls lose their damn minds because they're like they wish that they could just like break out like some prom dress type stuff and just show up to a party. Sub porridge. Oh my gosh, almost missed the live stream because I got my first saltwater fish, clownfish, and I can't believe I almost missed the show. Well, glad you could make it. You didn't miss that much. What number are we on? We are on 51. So you have at least what, 3/4 left to go? Sagitas A. Great. I had a pair about 15 years ago. Good memories. They hosted. Oh, talking about clownfish. My least favorite fish ever. Casey Wagner. Is that color temp transition done with Speed Tree? No, this is, I'm using, so my editing software is Final Cut Pro for the Mac, and I have to toy with a lot of with the color settings and keyframes and stuff like that. It's like I literally like make that effect from scratch myself, which is, I'm gonna give myself a little pat on the back for that, because I am a garbage tier editor, and I'm gonna take full credit for that one. Okay, this is a good question. Not that all of the previous ones are not good, but this is a good question. Rainer, I was about to say Rainier, but it's Rainer Trofer. Which brand of heaters are the most reliable? Good question. I would say that most of them are unfortunately just going to be hobby grade. So none of them are super reliable in that sense. They're all pretty reliable, but it's probably one of those devices that you should strongly considering replacing somewhat frequently, for the simple fact that nobody makes a industrial, mega bulletproof, super accurate, will survive the zombie apocalypse type heater for $200. Like, you would think that there would be a market for that. If some brand came out with like God's gift to heaters and sold it for $250, would people buy it? Like, they should. They absolutely should. I mean, how much is your tank worth, right? Especially like you saw the tanks from AAC in the UK video. You look at Nathan's tank, like you look at Rico's tank. I mean, like any of these guys that have been featured on my channel, or Ryan, right? The guy with the 1,000-gallon reef tank. You don't think that guy's going to spend $250 on a heater? So you would think that there would be that segment for like the ultra reliable bulletproof heaters, but they're really not. And so again, you might want to like work with redundancy and frequent swapping out. Frequent meaning like 12 to 18 months maybe. It's kind of wasteful, but at the same time, it's like these devices are kind of wonky sometimes. So what I mean by doing something with redundancy is maybe having like 3 separate heaters and having an independent temperature control to turn that heater on. So for example, this heater will only turn on if the first controller says to do it. And if it can't keep up, the second one will kick in, third one will kick in. But if for some reason it gets like just gets freaked out, it gets too hot, there's a separate controller other than the heater itself that can just turn the whole thing off. And then if you wanted to put all 3 of those onto a controller with multiple heat probes that says, okay, if all 3 of these heat probes says it's too hot, turn all of that stuff off. Things like that. Like you can kind of design your own freak out level temperature control, but it might be justified. Like you guys know how much you spend on corals and fish and lighting and everything that goes into a tank. Like, why risk it on a $20 heater, right? Ronald Austin, have you done a video of SAMMOCORA? Sorry for the spelling, I'm not familiar. I have not done it. It is on my list. I just need to script it. The thing that takes the most time for me to do videos by far is scripting. I need to do a Cyphastria video. I need to do a Leptastria video. I mean, there's like a list of some of like the less well-known corals, especially like some of these like oddball encrusting SPS, and I just haven't gotten to it. It's been on my list for quite a while, but again, it goes to the scripting that plays into all this. That by far takes the most time. Your least favorite fish is a clownfish. Unsubbing now, JK. Yeah, I'm not JKing. Clownfish, #1 least favorite fish. Not even close. It's that one's way up there. #2, tangs. Okay. Grayson M, newbie here. I would love to see the level of care for the items. As a saltwater beginner, I don't want to buy a coral that I'm not capable of caring for. Well, you are in luck. If you're curious about any of these corals, you can find it on the Tidal Gardens website. There's a full breakdown of all of these guys. It's probably the best place to see, because just for me to say like, okay, so this is a Pavona and put easy on there, that's not good enough. That's not good enough for you. That's not good enough for me. It's not even that helpful. So yeah, I would definitely encourage you to go through the site. And if you were interested, for example, in this purple Pavona, yeah, just read up on the entire thing. Some of the corals have extensive blogs about them. Like for example, I think the Acropora blog is at least 10 pages and has 9 embedded videos in it or something like that. Like you can research your heart's content on just that blog. So yeah, definitely check out the blogs, but even in the ones where I don't have specific blogs written out for them, the category and individual items themselves will have some care breakdown. So make use of that. Whirlpool reality. Tropic Marine Pro Reef Salt has a little precipitate on the bottom of the mixing barrel. Okay. Bioactive does get slime. So I'm assuming the bioactive stuff is like the probiotic blend, maybe? Yeah, if that's the case, that's not my jam. BRS just made their own. That's getting some hype. I'm going to go ahead and assume you're talking about the BRS salt. Yeah, I've heard of it. I've not met anyone that's ever tried it, other than Ryan. I've met Ryan, I guess. So I'm assuming that he uses the BRS salt. So Greg Reefboy likes Eheim Jaeger. I've used those before. Going back to the talk about heaters. I also use Phoenix. I've used them in the past. So, okay, so the Ebo Jaegers have never broken down on me. So I think that's a different product than what they're selling now. Like those used to be like, so this is Rossi's comment. So Ebo Jaeger, it was like a German brand of heater. They had a stellar reputation. I think since then are now mass-produced Chinese stuff under the Eheim Jaeger umbrella. Sigitas, by the way, folks, greetings from Lithuania. Welcome from Lithuania. I'm sure you've never heard of that country. Of course I've heard of Lithuania before. Zydrunas Ilgauskas played for my favorite basketball team here in Cleveland. So in fairness, I only know Lithuania through its basketball players. Like Sarunas Marcialonis, and who else? Arvydas Sabonis. Yeah, Rainier's saying, yeah, new Eheim Jaegers are junk. Yeah, and like I was saying, so Rossi's not wrong. I do distinctly remember Ebo Jaegers, old school, being really, really good. But I think that most of the heaters out now are not up to that standard. Like I'm telling you guys, like Amazon and just mass Chinese manufacturing did not do great things for quality control on mission critical devices. Not even a little bit. Like that's part of the reason why, you know, I'm using like what are those things called? Abyss pumps for my return pumps. So I'm hoping that they live up to the hype, but you know, they're like titanium blocks of German engineering. You can definitely do with a lot cheaper, but for stuff that really needs to work 100% all the time, yeah, I have to spend the money, right? It's too much of an investment not to. KC Wagner. Clownfish at the LFS come right up and stick their faces out of the water when I look at them. Come closer, let us feed on you. Yeah, basically. Unholy terrors. Is Pavona an LPS coral? I think in our site we've classified it as an SPS. I guess like people have said either or on that one. Rickus Smith, love your coral. Please tell me what would be good to grow on a bare bottom. Researching for my first reef tank. So Rickus, I'm actually going to be doing a video on like a top 5 corals for a bare bottom tank, and I'm still kind of going through my list. But if I did have to come up with one thing off the top of my head that I think would be really, really cool to look into, consider Cyphastria. If you wanted, it's just a blank at the bottom of a tank. Cyphastria do some pretty cool stuff. So Eco Marine says, I bought a bunch of Eheims and they weren't great. Yeah. So I guess like I'm a little bit out of the loop, because the way that I heat my tanks is different from the way anybody else heats their tank. We use like giant heated coil heat exchangers, and all of like the temperature controls are like all industrial type stuff. So it's totally different. But if I were just to choose something out of the blue, the last time that we used like that type of heater would probably be like Phoenix. I kind of like the titanium ones, just for the simple fact that they can't like bang into something and break. Are they completely faultless? Probably not. I mean, everything can get messed up, I guess. Okay, so Pearl Coffee is wondering, newbie here, what is the best cheap light that I can get for LPS and soft corals? Thinking about budget. What do you guys think? There's a couple different directions you can go with that. You can get really inexpensive T5 fixtures off of Amazon, and then you can fill them with a good bulb like an ATI. Now, over time, you'll have to replace those bulbs. It's going to run hotter, and it's going to consume more electricity than an LED system. You could go with like basically what's called a Chinese black box LED, and plenty of people have had success using those. Stephen Hurst, right there, thinking about grabbing a couple black box LEDs for my 150, fair price with decent reviews. Yeah, I mean, you could probably find, like, how much are like black boxes these days? Probably a couple $100 maybe, if I had to guess. Two Pleases suggesting current USA Marine lights. Texan Boy 22 likes his Ocean Revives. I saw the Ocean Revive fixtures when I was at Aqua in the UK. Eco Marines had some over her tank. Not bad. Not bad. Polished looking, if nothing else. Dan says, I use Shigo heaters on a temperature controller. You can't beat the German build quality. I have never heard of that brand. Steve First, like a lot cheaper than Radions. Isn't that every light? Isn't every light a lot cheaper than a Radion? People love the Radions though, and I'll tell you, I was kind of a little apprehensive about going to Radions after living in T5 land for so long, but looking at some other people's success with Radions, it's if I have bad success with corals, it's not the light, because I've seen so many tanks now that have done really, really, really well with Gen 4 Radion Pros that It's something else I'm doing wrong at that point. Grayson M, the black boxes catch on fire, I hear. Would not be surprised. Chinese manufacturing, not the best in the world. At the very least, it'd be nice if it was assembled in the US. Because, like, for example, Radeons, I think most of the components are Chinese, but they're at least assembled in the US. And that assembly does make a difference. Mostly Reef says, hard to beat Ocean Revives for the money. Yeah, like I said, it was a polished looking fixture for sure. It was kind of nice. Casey says, I've had the Mars Hydro Box, got for aquaponics. Use it on freshwater tank, works great. Yeah, I can't believe you've never seen Shigo titanium heaters, especially when you were over here in the UK last week. Everyone goes for them. Yeah, literally. Well, maybe it's a UK thing or an EU in general thing, because I mean, okay, Americans in chat, have you guys heard of a Shigo titanium heater, or is it just me? Like maybe, like I said, maybe I'm out of the loop because it's the last time I had like a hobbyist-sized aquarium where I would be using a heater like that. It's been quite a while. I'm gonna do a quick search for that real quick. Shigo. So the first thing that pops up is not a Shigo, but it's an Aqualogic 3 that's $1,000. Huh, that ain't it. Okay, so I see one. Okay, so no. So they range from a 50-watt version to a 600-watt version, from basically 32 euros to 45 euros. And I'm pretty sure that 600-watt one is going to blow the breakers. I'm thinking of like if I ever went to like a trade show or something like that, try to plug in a 600-watt heater. That's not going to go well. Yeah, okay, so Chris has not heard of it. Guys, it might just be an EU thing, because I am not seeing it. Yeah, so guys, right there, maybe it's something you guys can look into for those looking for like high quality, not Chinese heaters. Huh, interesting. Okay, so real quick. Wait, they're 220 volt? Oh, that's not good. It's not good for us, anyway. Really? I must have missed that. Yeah, it's 220 volt. That's why we don't hear of it. Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's not going to work out. Oh. So I, for one, am really looking forward to getting into like the late fall and winter season, because we've had easily the most brutal summer here, brutally hot for like 3 weeks in a row, 90-degree plus, and I've never remembered a summer this hot, and that's so bad for coral. Yet our SPS, like these Monties behind us, have done really well. I mean, in years past, that type of like heat wave would have just killed off so many corals, it's not even funny. So it just kind of goes to show you that just making incremental improvements over the years really does work wonders, because not only are we getting not dead corals, always a perk, right? But to actually have them color up nicely makes a huge difference right there. And now I'm kind of excited to go with our current stock into the winter where they color up even more nicely. So for example, I'm looking at this like Sunburst Monty. The difference in color between the yellow polyp and the red base isn't as striking as it should be. They're kind of like similar in color. Like to me, the ideal coloration for that would be like a nice red, but with like a canary yellow polyp. And I think that that's what we're gonna get towards, like especially right around January. So take a note down. Come January, February, if you see some of the Sunburst Monties again, we can always check the receipts, right, guys? Okay, so Greg Reefboy is asking, have you switched from white lighting egg crate to black, and why? Okay, is there too much reflection of light or algae to grow on the white instead of the black? Okay, so we don't use very much egg crate at all in this whole place. And in this new building, once we set up these tanks, we're not going to use any egg crate. So egg crate has its pluses and minuses. The big plus is that it's cheap. It can hold a lot of frags. It's readily available everywhere. Black versus white, boy, that could be taken out of context. But it doesn't really matter too much there. We used black just because I like the look of it better. But we're going with acrylic for everything. Because one thing that is not so good with egg crate is how many nooks and crannies there are, and the fact that like snails and stuff like that struggle to clean them, whereas they have a much easier time on acrylic. Now, the downside to acrylic is that it doesn't have that completely open structure. Again, those nooks and crannies. So you have like detritus that likes to build up and settle on it, and especially in our tanks that have substandard flow, a lot of times that detritus settling problem can be an issue. Excuse me. So there's good and bad to everything, long story short. If you want to use egg crate, it works for a lot of people really well. Go for it. For us, we've decided to go in a completely different direction. Not sure if it's good or bad, but we've done something different. Thank you for answering my question. Hello from Canada. Hello, Pearl Coffee. Too bad we can't order from the US. Yeah, unfortunately. When it comes to international shipping, we aren't doing that just yet. I think I'm going to look into it, but it has to be like the right deal. And there's probably a whole lot involved in it that I don't want to do a whole bunch of. I can't talk. 6622G. I saw your table at MACNA DC. Very interesting. Thanks. Yeah, MACNA DC pretty much made me retire from the whole circuit of traveling to do shows. Like, I was so exhausted after that whole experience. I'm like, I'm retired. I'm just going to focus on doing the website thing forever now. But who knows? Maybe one day I will do the travel thing again. Now that there's like a billion shows every weekend to go to, maybe I might go and do it. James Stahl, Bulk Reef Supply just announced a new heater by Shigo. They rebranded it, but it's available in the US now. Very cool. Very cool. And by the way, thank you too, please, for like keeping on spamming out those links. It's very helpful. Yeah, I guess the other thing that I'm really looking forward to is finally getting these tanks up and running here. Like, I'm sure that a lot of these SPS could really do with a lot more like strict control of temperature and lighting, and not having to deal with like pollen issues, things like that, and all that seasonality. Like I guess I'm just like looking forward to keeping aquariums in a much more controlled, regular building type environment. Now, the sort of stuff that I was worried about in having aquariums in a regular style building is the amount of humidity that's going to be in and around here. But the more that I kind of look at it, the more comfortable I am with all that we've done as far as HVAC goes. So yeah, I guess long story short on that, I'm really not that too concerned. We have a monster air conditioner for the summertime. We've got 4 air exchangers for the wintertime. In fact, I think the winter is going to be great. Like, it's going to be dry, like bone dry in this building come wintertime, assuming that there's water downstairs, which is a big assumption these days. Now, having said that, my plumber is finally starting to get freed up. So his issue was that he had a whole bunch of projects lined up, like giant projects, like apartment complexes and car washes and stuff like that to work on. And he had spaced it out in a way that, you know, made sense to him. But because some of those projects got delayed in weird ways, they all ended up starting at exactly the same time. So he was essentially doing 3 jobs at a time where he only should have been doing 1 job, right? So that kind of sucked. Then he had a baby, and then like he lost 2 employees for like really dumb reasons. So like taking that hit to the workforce, the baby, like triple the workload suddenly, pretty much made it so that he could only show up here at best once a month. And finally he got done with a lot of those giant huge projects, and I'm basically now back on the calendar starting next week so he can actually have guys here and doing stuff. So I'm excited for that, obviously. I'm gonna guess many of you are excited about that as well. And sometime in November coming up, that's coming up real soon, I need to make the journey down to Florida to grab the remaining tanks and then bring them up. And of course, I have all kinds of worries about that process because I don't usually do that sort of thing. But the same plumber is very good at moving very large pieces of equipment that weigh way more than these aquariums do. And so he has a plan in place and says, don't worry, if you can just get them here, we will get them off of the trucks and onto the stands, no problem. So I'm like, okay, let's do that. Chris Smith, with your knowledge, what is the best food that you've bought online? Let's see. That is very hard for me to answer because I've purchased so many different foods and we tend to mix them all together. So what we're going through really hard right this second is we make our own frozen food with a mix of 2 different types of krill, mysis shrimp, and some plankton like cyclopes and rotifers. Okay, so that we just make that in bulk, bring it in bulk, stir it all up together. So that's kind of like the frozen portion. We then use some sort of algae pellet, not into the frozen thing and freeze it, but once we're thawing it out in a container to feed that day, we toss in some algae pellets. So the ones we're currently using are made by Omega C. But in the past, we've used Spectrum New Life, and we've also used Hikari. So although all those are things that we've done in the past there, as far as powdered foods, we've tried some Polyp Lab stuff. We've tried Coral Frenzy. Currently, we're using Coral Frenzy. We have also used some Goniopora. That's 2 little fishies. Yeah, I think pretty much the only one that we haven't tried yet is probably the bulk resupply stuff. And for no other reason than it's never on my mind when I'm ordering anything from bulk resupply. So, because usually when I'm ordering from bulk resupply, it's for like a bulkhead or something. It's not usually for like the food. So yeah, it's never been front of mind when I'm placing the order. So yeah, it's a mix of things. So I unfortunately don't have like an exact recipe that we go to. The other thing that we've now been dosing is an amino acid supplement called Aqua Vitro Fuel. But in the past, we've used the Brightwell supplement for amino acids, and before that, we used AcroPower, which again was 2 little fishies. So again, a mix of different things. So you're welcome to all those companies I just named. Y'all get free shout outs. Okay, so Chris is also asking, where's the best place to buy 1,000 frag plugs? And 2 please actually answered you directly, which is the Magical Reef. His name's Ty, and yeah, he is the one that's currently making our frag plugs. Now, love you, Tyson, but the uniformity of them is not as good as some of the others. Like, no, what's that place? Ocean's Wonders is another place. The reason why we're going with Magical Reef is that it is like significantly less expensive at volume pricing, and at the end of the day, does anybody care really how perfect a frag plug is? Most people hate frag plugs anyway. You're not impressing anybody by having like a perfectly shaped frag plug. So they are good enough, they are cheap enough, and again, most people don't like them anyway and end up removing the coral from them. Someone 6 Reefs. Glad you liked your trip to the UK. I did. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was kind of nice because, okay, so part of it obviously was like great food, great company, great to meet a whole bunch of new faces, good to see some old faces that I don't see a lot of. Like, for example, the guys from Fritz were there. So like Sean Hale from Fritz, I only get to see him maybe like once or twice a year at best. And so it's nice to see him. It's nice to see George from Coralfish 12G. Yeah, again, I see him maybe once or twice a year. I met a whole bunch of people in the Europe side of things, and there's a couple people that I wish I could have met, but it didn't work out. But still, like just meeting all these people, and I wasn't even like expecting to meet like David Saxby, for example, and like he invited me to go see his place. And I'm like, I'd love to, but scheduling is not working out. At the spur of the moment, you know, it's like, had I known, I would have planned it better. So like one day maybe I can go check out his tank. If you guys don't know, like David Saxby, he's very famous for like a very, very nice home aquarium. It's probably 3,000 gallons maybe. He's the owner of D&D Aquatics. It's a big brand in Europe, less big in the US. I mean, there are US products, but it's less of a thing here than I think it is over there. Let's see. I met Jamie Craggs, who's doing all that Acropora research on spawning. Really cool stuff. Really nice guy too. Hopefully one day I can actually see his facility, and hopefully I can have him over and see mine. That'd be nice. Reef Boy, does that Speedy Ras have a name? I don't name my fish because if I name them, they jump out of my tank. If he doesn't, its name should be Speedy Boy, and I definitely like how it's boy with an I. I appreciate that. Oh, that's cool. I'm just noticing this. So this is item number 110, Darth Maul Parietes. We often have a shortage of this coral, like Parietes, for whatever reason. You would think that it grows really fast, but it tends to be a little slower growing. And I'm always bummed out when we don't have it available because it's probably one of my favorite SPS. Like it's slowly grown on me as to like how cool of a coral that is. But we almost never, I shouldn't say never, but we don't always have a ton of them for sale. So it's kind of cool to see it back on the live show. I don't know why this seems like such a, again, oh, I just noticed this sort of thing, seeing that I did do all the filming and all the editing for this video behind me. But yeah, I'm just noticing a couple of these things now. Intro to reefing. Are Cyphastria similar in care to Favia? No. Yes and no. If I had the two together, I wouldn't necessarily shoot for different parameters or anything like that. But they're really different corals in general. So, for example, I think Cyphastria would probably do a lot better in less light than Favia. But at the same time, I wouldn't hesitate to put Favia and Cyphastria in the same tank at the same time. Like Cyphastria is going to be far faster growing than a Favia, which tends to be one of the slowest growing corals I've ever seen. Yeah, they're really, really, really different. But as far as like what I would do to care for them differently, the only thing that I might do would be to try to spot feed the Favia, whereas spot feeding Cyphastria tends to not be that meaningful. I've done a lot of like macro photography of Cyphastria and fed, and I'm not really convinced that they do a whole lot of prey capture, or at least not the prey capture of the stuff I'm trying to feed. So again, maybe going back to that conversation about the Red Sea liquid foods with the amino acids and the vitamins might be a better route feeding wise. But then again, Favia might benefit from that as well. So yeah, care requirements, you might be right, maybe similar, but very different actual coral animal. Okay, so we've been at this for an hour and 15 minutes roughly. I'm going to go and quickly grab a Coke. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Is chat dead, you guys? The last thing I see, oh, maybe not. It's like the last thing I see is that same question that I left it to. Dan's gone party on. You guys have to behave. There's no substitute teacher to take advantage of. Oh. One big difference between the UK and the US is that their Coke is different. Now, I try not to drink a lot of soft drinks because, you know, at my age, drinking this immediately will pack on a pound. But, so the ingredients here, carbonated water. Second ingredient, high fructose corn syrup. Over in the UK, they use sugar. And let me tell you, it is a lot better to use sugar than high fructose corn syrup. It's instantly noticeable how much better a Coke in the UK is. And instantly noticeable how real sugar in Coke affects me because I get super hyper. But they didn't have cherry Coke, at least not that I saw. But yeah, wow, it's crazy. It's crazy how different that drink is. So Stephen Hurst, the Mexican Coke in glass bottles is so much better. I think the Mexican Coke is made with agave nectar, I think. If that's... is it using sugar or is it using agave? Or is it just sugar? I'm gonna look that up. I know we're having like serious, you know, discussions here right now. Mexican Coke. Okay, so it uses real cane sugar. Okay. Now, is cane sugar different than sugar? Dumb question of the day. Yeah. So yeah, I need to source some Mexican Coke if I do decide to gain a pound instantly. And they do cherry Coke. Okay. Nope, it's just sugar. All right. Gotcha. It's made of sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup like the US. Yeah, okay. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I am all about that action. Okay. So in all that talk, James Liston is wondering, hey Than, I'm about to redo my aquascape in my 90-gallon tank. If I leave most of the live rock in there, how long should I wait to add livestock, and how long to recycle the tank? Okay, so based on the question, it sounds like you're kind of like breaking it down and resetting it. But it sounds like you're re-aquascaping the tank. So assuming that you have a running aquarium right now and you wanted to redo it, I would practically just keep the tank running and re-aquascape the tank. Now, if you're gonna actually break it down and stop everything for like more than a few weeks, that's when you might want to talk about how to go about like killing everything on the rock, curing that rock, and then getting it back going. Otherwise, if you're still talking just like a few weeks, you might just still want to get like a heater, an air pump, and put all that rock into like a brute trash can. Just keep that running. Just because it'll be way easier to start with that than to go the long route, which is to do the full breakdown, fully cure that rock, dry it out, kill it, do whatever. That's going to be a pain in the butt. Reintroduce it, and then start a cycle again. So I guess like it just depends on where in the scale this aquascape project is really going to be. If at all possible, I would try to keep as much of it alive, going from the first tank to the second tank. It's going to be way more gentle as far as like the cycle and all that. It'll be a lot less work too. Than, how quickly do you think a new hobbyist could set up a new tank and start to add coral successfully? I get asked this question a lot, and I thought maybe you could give a better explanation. So there's not a great answer that I have for that, because I'm super conservative about stocking timing. Like for a hobbyist sized tank, I mean, they sell, meaning a whole bunch of different people at this point, but there's all types of tank starter liquids that are kind of like bacteria cultures and things like that are supposed to quickly get a cycle over and done with, all of your bacterial media like seasoned with active culture. So theoretically, you could cycle the tank quickly. The problem though is that there's more to it than just that nitrogen cycle, and this is where you kind of get into like the weird nuances of like ecosystems in general, and like the size of the tank matters, the amount of live rock matters, the type of coral you're trying to keep matters. So I like to be as conservative as possible. I don't really like to try to put corals in until about 3 months, so it's not very quickly at all. Okay, so James says tank will be running during the process. It's just replacing the rock I have with new dry rock. Okay. New dry rock theoretically shouldn't have a lot of die-off in it. Item number 128 just freaked the heck out. Huh. That's interesting. So that's hilarious. Yeah, didn't catch that one. When I was... Oh, I just missed it on the replay too. Darn it. When I apply motion stabilization, sometimes something can completely set it off, and it'll like try to adjust for motion that it sees by like zooming way in on something. So maybe did like a fish swim by in front of it or something, and that whatever. Shoot, did it again on item number 130. I really should have like actually watched this through a little bit more carefully before applying this. Yeah, I think it's that your little speedy boy is messing up my thing. So you're just gonna have to like use your imagination as to what it is that fish. That's what. Oh my gosh! I wonder how many corals it's gonna do this to. That stupid wrasse. See, this is why you don't name fish, right? I told you it's bad. It's bad juju to name fish. As soon as it was given a name, it's causing trouble. See? So this is some pro tips right here. You want to keep a better reef tank with less drama? Don't name your fish. Two please. Brute trash cans for everything. There you go. Edward Watkins. Than, you're prophetic about fox-faced rabbitfish. I bought a bunch of zoas at a frag swap and he saw it as an all-you-can-eat buffet. He never touched any of the ones already in the tank. So fish can be like that. We have some fox faces that are just fine with all kinds of corals. And then we've got some that are total jerks. And the longer you keep them, then the bigger that they get, the more likely it is that they can just like chomp down on something and cause some real damage. Nash B, have you ever owned a purple monster mushroom? Not that I know of, not by that name. Sorry. Aaron Alexander, those are some nice polyps. Yeah. See, he almost tried to mess with this one here, item number 133. I see him zip by. It's like it's just a coin flip whether the image stabilization is going to freak out. Oh man. Now, I could have done the responsible thing and actually checked the footage, but who has time to like sit and watch a 2-hour and something video to check for all that? By the way, when processing this video, no joke, takes like 5 hours. So if I wanted to then to go back, fix those couple clips, and then hit reprocess again, I have to wait another 5 hours. We'll just have to use our imagination, see what a green Montipora looks like. Okay, so A&M is asking, how do you choose the online coral retailer? Wait, what? How to choose the online coral retailer? What to look for? I'm from the EU and no close decent coral LFSs. That's a good question. How would you go about evaluating online retailers? Well, probably the best method that I can think of is to like check the reviews, right? You can always just check Google reviews and see what their Facebook reviews look like. Less so Facebook, probably more Google. See if there are if there's any kind of video that you can see about their actual facility. So some of the more high profile places will have very, very, very nice looking showrooms and things like that. And although a nice showroom isn't necessarily going to be indicative of their shipping quality or anything like that, it's more likely that a place that takes really, really good care of itself will also take care of like the business product handling end of the spectrum as well. So yeah, look at those. If they have like a YouTube channel where they talk a lot about their corals and talk a lot about their operations, or get featured a lot in other people's YouTube channels, I think that that's also like a good sign. I view that very positively, because some places I think that you really want to avoid are like kind of like fly by night type shops that have like no reputation, and they just might be importing illegal stuff and then vanishing the next day sort of thing. You want to kind of avoid that. So yeah, hopefully that'll at least get you started. Yeah, I'm still looking out for this fish. Like, see how many more clips it messed up. Speedy boy. Okay, so Lee White is asking, how much flow and light for a sunset Monty? I have a frag and pretty decent flow and about 12 inches from a 6 bulb T5 unit. So both of those sound perfectly reasonable to me. I've noticed that a Montipora, like a sunset, they typically do like to get more light, and because to really get like the most stunning color, especially if you don't provide it with quite enough color, it gets a little bit more dusky looking. 6 bulb T5 unit, that should be plenty of variety as far as like the spectrum goes. I'm assuming you're using decent quality light bulbs for it, something from either Coral and Zucht or ATI. And as far as flow, I've kind of gone in the direction of, as long as you're not blowing the flesh off of its body, you can go pretty hard on Montipora. Like we have some pumps that can kind of strip flesh off of SPS corals. So short of that, you should be okay. Do you have any idea of when your show tanks are going to be? Oh, what your show tanks are going to have in them? Maybe a smaller tank with all mushrooms. I did kind of have some ideas floating around. So the 2 big show tanks, let's start there. I want to have one SPS dominated big show tank. So that's going to be the one where the long end is back against the wall. So like when you walk into the building, 100 and something feet away, taking up a lot of that back wall is going to be my big show tank. Now, when you walk in, you're not actually going to be able to see the other big show tank very easily, but it is going to be a 10-foot long peninsula tank, and that's going to be in that opening area that needed the pergola system to hang the lights down. Excuse me. I am planning on something more like a mixed reef, lower flow, and something with like vegetation, like maybe mangroves, things like that. As far as like the individual show tanks, like the smaller ones, hopefully I can come to some deal with some tank manufacturers and have like individual sponsored tank by company, right? So like, for example, I was talking to one company when I was in the UK, and they have like a really cool system for pumps and protein skimmers that I think would be like perfect for a non-photosynthetic tank. So are you guys familiar with so here's a quick commercial for these guys, right? Familiar with Rossmont. I know that they're sold in the US. They're not a huge brand here in the US though. It's an Italian company that makes both pumps and skimmers. So met the CEO, nice dude. His name is Mattia from Italy, and I just like became Facebook friends with him, and the first thing I see, which is totally like hilarious and awesome, is that he's like the lead singer of a Metallica tribute band. And I swear to God, the guy looks like James Hetfield on stage. I was like trying to do a double take, and I'm like, holy crap, that really looks like James Hetfield. Anyway, so the cool thing about his product is that it's both controllable and schedulable. So what does that mean? So if you imagine like a protein skimmer where you set like the regular operating height of the protein skimmer, like the skimmate level, the water level, you set the pump to 70% to operate at that level. But when you want to feed and you don't want that food to be skimmed out, you can drop that skimmer down to like 30% power for, let's say, 20 minutes. But then after you're done feeding, you can bring it back up to normal, or you can have it momentarily over skim. So it'll like aggressively clean its neck, because the neck of a protein skimmer is really where you're going to be losing a lot of your efficiency if that brown, hard, dry stuff starts to form. So by periodically over skimming, it keeps all that stuff wet and then gets it, out and into the collection head. So it would be cool to have like a system, again, maybe using that Red Sea type product, where if they say that it can keep non-photosynthetic corals alive, to have that on a dosing system, but coordinate the dosing system with both the power heads that are in the tank as well as the protein skimmer, so that you maximize the amount of dwell time of the food in the tank without it getting skimmed. But once feeding time is over, you aggressively skim it all out so you're not having it foul the water. And then you do that 30 times a day, like 24/7. I think that'd be like a really, really, really cool system conceptually. So in answer to your question there, at least one of the show tanks, I would like to try a non-photosynthetic tank. I might try something with just like a really cool fish, like a dragon moray or something like that. Something that I would never otherwise, have in a giant frag tank, where it would just eat all the other fish. Things like that. I haven't planned all the tanks yet. I think that Ben wants a seahorse tank. There might be some others in the works. Well, we'll see how many we can squeeze in for the YouTubes. MC Hammer Torch is asking, Montiporas are growing really fast. Will acros do it as well? Potentially, yes. Acropora, especially once they get really settled in, can take off and become huge colonies. Absolutely. Spaghetti Killer show, an amazing video and audio quality. Thank you. Glad you appreciate it. Not by accident. we work pretty hard when it comes to like the audio visual side of the stuff. So I'm glad that you're getting like a good representation. What's crazy, okay, if you can imagine this, is that if we had the internet connection for it, I could do resolution 4 times better than what you're seeing on screen, because we're currently running at 1080p 60. This original source file is a 4K 60 file. So in the future, if I ever get fiber or something like that, I totally want to do 4K 60 live streams. Now, I realize that half of you guys are watching on your phone and it doesn't make any difference, but for the folks that have like, this on their big screen TV, to see this in 4K is pretty slick. Let's see. Bahrat Betty, are you using a calcium reactor? Yes. Can you please suggest which one is good? Destaco, Pacific Sun, or any other suggestions, please? So you're going to hear some mixed takes on Destaco. I've never used them personally. There's some people that really like them, and then there's other people that said, get this out of my facility immediately. They run at a really low pH, and they use specialized media that is expensive. I personally like easier to get media. So the brand that I'm running currently is Geo. they've made good proteins, or I'm sorry, yeah, they've made good calcium reactors forever. Why can't I think right now? The units that I saw when I was over in the UK, a lot of them were using shoot, what were those things? Check my video. I'm like losing my mind here. What were those units? Lost it. Ecomarines, I'm glad you don't have any real sugar in that Coke tonight. I don't know what it, like, maybe like I'm getting dumber the more high fructose corn syrup I'm drinking here. Like I can't even think of these brands. Diacanthus. Okay, not gonna be able to make it quite to the end. Happy streaming, folks. Thanks so much for hanging out. I need to get more moderators. So I think it's just 2 please and Diacanthus Reef. Ecomarines, I'm making you a moderator. Even though I know that it's like sometimes your hands are in the tank and you can't actually ban people. But I'm making you a moderator. Deltec. Yeah, Deltec makes a calcium reactor. Vertex is a pretty good one. Yeah, Reef Dudes, yeah. I am impressed with Vertex products. My only problem with Vertex products is that they are tiny and I have giant systems, and so I've never really given them a second look because their absolute biggest, most giant things tend to be too small for just my sump by itself. So there's that. Nashby, does TG have a Discord? No, like, I'm sorry, I'm like practically boomer level internet savvy at this point. So I don't understand what Discord is. I really should, because I know enough about gaming and that whole culture. I just left the gaming community before Discord became a thing. So I should try something. I should try to set up a Discord just to be familiar with it. I feel really out of the loop. Like I feel real boomer. Let's see. How could you forget Mr. Saxby's calcium reactors? Simple. He's not a household name in the U.S. we had this conversation about like who is a big name and who isn't. Because like the people that Ecomarines thinks is like a huge deal. I'm like, I just say, and I didn't say this about David Saxby. Okay, we're talking about just some other random names, but she was mentioning some people, and I'm like, that person's irrelevant. So anyway. I think D&D distributes Deltec. So D&D, I think that they have like it's like a product umbrella, kind of like CoralView in the U.S. to some degree. I know that D&D makes their own branded products as well, but I think that there's a lot of other brands associated underneath that D&D distributes. I don't recall exactly what was at their booth. They had a huge booth at Aqua. SCLEO1. Any recommendations? Did I miss the question? Go ahead and re-ask. I don't see where the original question was from. So we have about what, half hour left? Wow, this is a long live show, huh? Yeah, okay, so there you go. D&D distributes, it's owned by Saxby, all right. And that's another thing, like Deltec is it's not a huge brand over here in the US. Like there's like some places that carry Deltec stuff, not that many. Starry Skyline, can you recommend sufficient power heads for a 4-foot Aqua 1 Aqua Reef 400? Okay, so I don't know what that is, but I'd love MP40s, but I can't stretch that far at the moment. Okay, so I personally have not used Rossmont pumps before. but after talking with their CEO, Mattia, who, designs these products, he gave me like at least a master's degree level explanation of like why they did certain things when it came to conceptualizing and building their pumps. And I came away very impressed with what I heard. So if you're going to blind buy something, I would offer to say give Rossmont a try. It's not exactly a household name in the US, but I do know that they are being sold around. Give them a try. I think you might be pleasantly surprised because like their attention to detail was very impressive. And I got a lot of good information about pumps in general, about pump construction. And he was telling me about like how they went through 70 different prototypes to make their needle wheel for their protein skimmer. Like they did a ton of testing. So, and the price point might be good for you because it is not going to be like Chinese throwaway cheap might electrocute your fish. And it's not going to be Ecotech, cost no object, MP60, right? So it's going to be like somewhere in the middle. So that might be like the best blend of like performance for value. Now, hopefully you all don't go buy the product and they suck, because again, I have to put the preface out there. I've never used this product before. I'm just saying that I am looking forward to trying out his product, and I came away with a very good impression after talking with him. When will you start shipping to Europe? Good question. So I've never shipped overseas before. I have never gone through the CITES regulatory process. It's something that for the first time in a long time I'm actually taking a hard look at, but honestly, no time too soon. And if I did do it, it would have to be through some sort of distributorship, because the way that it has to work, for me to send an order to the UK, let's say, or to the EU, and strangely, those are going to be two different things one day coming up. But what I would have to do is package my stuff here, drive it 6 hours away to either New York or Chicago to a Fish and Wildlife field station, get it checked, get all my paperwork checked, pay hundreds of dollars for permits, and then have it shipped next day air to your location somewhere else, okay? I am not even going to make that drive for anything less than $30,000. So yeah, it's going to have to be through distributor stuff where I'm like literally sending 50 to 100 boxes in one shipment from Chicago out, because yeah, otherwise it's just not happening. It's not like unfortunately I don't have like a Fish and Wildlife station right next to me or anything like that for export. It's a pain in the butt. It almost makes sense for me to like, no, it doesn't make sense for me to open up shop in Chicago. It makes no sense at all. But yeah, it would be like, yeah, it's an ordeal for sure. Hollywood Stunner Chalice is not healing its edges like others have. Medium flow, 18 inches from a Kessel. Any recommendations? Okay. Well, that is a little bit surprising, to be honest, because a Hollywood Stunner is one of the most fast-growing, ridiculous, tough chalices. Even if it were to die back, like some of our chalices, our Hollywood Stunners, might die back 50%, and it doesn't matter, because once it gets over whatever's bothering it and starts to grow again, it's going to be like 10 times the size in no time. I would double check to make sure nothing is actively bothering it. It's not likely to have any kind of like pest or parasite issue, but if you are worried about that, you might do like a prophylactic dip in something. But yeah, usually that type of chalice, I think it's like an oxypora maybe. or an echino, I'm sorry, it's an echinopora. Super fast growing, super tough. So yeah, so if you wanted to be proactive, you could give it a quick dip, see if anything jumps off, or you can just do like a quick water change and see if that helps perk things up. And also, yeah, again, double check to see if there's anything bothering it. What type of wave makers would you recommend to the average hobbyist? Most of the mid-range pumps these days have a wave making functionality on their own. I'm not entirely certain if wave making is a good feature or not. So we don't really use them very much. We just turn them on just to provide laminar flow. I don't know if there's folks that can make suggestions. So the usual suspects would be on the high-end Ecotech, on the low end. I don't know if there is a good, great low end. I mean, sometimes people like those Chinese ones, the Jibaos and stuff like that, which are kind of like Tunzi knockoffs. So I guess like Tunzi is in that middle plus range. And again, like I would give Rossmont a try. Giving Rossmont all the free publicity on this stream. No, but like I said, I'm at the stage with my greenhouse where a whole bunch of our pumps from years and years and years ago are finally starting to die. We also use max spec gyres, but that's towards the upper end of the price echelon. Yeah, but we're at that point where a lot of our pumps are starting to die. Like old Corallias and old Tunzis, things like that. So I'm probably going to order like a nice good sized batch of the Rossmonts and give them a try myself. And so hopefully in a few months here I can give you some actual feedback. And those I'm paying for. I mean, store use, but I'm paying for them. So you can take my recommendation with a slight grain of salt, I guess. So okay, so Casey's saying I have a Discord set up already if you want to use it. I got the impression that Discord was like a chat server, like a voice chat thing. But then I see like a whole bunch of text stuff associated with Discord. So I'm kind of confused as to what Discord is. So yeah, help a boomer out and just like explica por favor. Yeah. Yeah, trying to earn that watch faster with that size order. One day I'll get the watch. But there's like 10 other things that I need to buy before I buy that watch. Like a kitchen. A nice kitchen. Well, okay, organize some distributor. There's a lot going. There's a lot to it. That's big business. The international shipping stuff, big business. But once this building downstairs is a fully operational space battle station, it's going to need some big deal stuff. So at that point, it's going to make a lot more sense to do the export idea. Starry Skyline. Easy solution is to open up a shop in the UK. I guess that's one way to do it. It's a slightly longer commute than what I'm used to. I'm used to walking 300 feet back to my buildings back here from home. But you know, the UK, also a possibility. Now, the funny thing is, if you said Japan, I'd be like, sounds awesome. Let's do it. Squidderp12. What's ending the stream? Is it as crazy as last time? No, there's not going to be any. Well, it's their spoiler. It's going to be a couple of nice torches for not super expensive price. So if you're looking for torches, I got a couple of ones that are somewhat reasonable. Torches are insane these days. I got a funny story. So I don't know if you go to a lot of frag shows, but like I heard this story about Frost. So if you guys know Frost Corals, he's a friend of mine. He's local here, and you know he goes to so many shows, so he knows like the market value for a lot of corals. So what I heard, so real quick, two please, gotta go, Than. Thank you so much for all your super chats. I really appreciate it. We'll be in touch. So anyway, he had set up, and the booth across from him had like 14 heads of torch for like $80 a head. And supposedly he goes and just buys all of them. He's like, I'll take them all. He just takes all 14 heads of torch, walks it right over to his tank, puts them down, $350 a piece. Can you imagine like the guy across from him just having to stare at that other set of tanks with your torches marked up like 400 something % for the show and selling? Like, how frustrating would that be? So that's kind of my ridiculous torch price story. But no, my prices on torches for this live show, very aggressive. Somebody should take advantage of it. Discord is chat, text, and voice. Okay, interesting. Discord is much like TeamSpeak. Familiar with TeamSpeak? If that was around when you were a gamer. Yes, so I did TeamSpeak, and I did Ventrilo as well. Private chat room. Okay. Jeremy Young says, I think Discord is horrible personally. I miss Roger Wilco chat. Jeff Jerry, I missed the Jello Shots number. What was it again? Thanks. You can scrub back in the timeline, I think, and you can kind of catch up. And Squidderp said 171. So I'm so useful very late in the process. Discord can give you different channels for different topics. Channels can be voice or text. Okay. It's worth the commute for the real Coke. Yeah. But then again, I like vacationing in Mexico a lot. Speaking of, I think my friends want to go someplace in Mexico. Or was it Costa Rica in February? So Lawson's not in chat, but they're trying to sell me I think a Costa Rican vacation. I think I might be real down with that idea come February. Casey says, my video is at the stunner. I must be lagging like heck. What was the number for the first Jello shot? It was like 121. Can't remember. Thanks. That I have no idea. Daniel says, Frost should take advantage of it. You know what? Frost, so he was here for my barbecue, and I had like a couple of, like maybe, I had a few torches that were like over $200 a piece, and he bought all of them. So I don't know if he like took these $200 torches, went to some other frag swap and sold them for like $600. I have no idea, but hey, whatever. I thought I was doing pretty good with $200 for a head of torch. Goes to show how much I know about pricing. I literally know nothing about pricing because I don't even do the pricing. Like pricing is the sole discretion of Ben. Gerald Wong, would you come to Singapore anytime soon? Gerald, there is no other place in the world I would like to visit than Singapore. Unfortunately, I don't have a trip planned anytime soon. So it's not that I can't get away from this for like a week and a half. It's nothing to do with that. It's simply the fact that my vacation friends have like real adult jobs, and they are kind of capped out on their vacation limit. So they can't come to Singapore with me. And that's just one of those trips that I have to go with my friends. It's too special of a time. I love, 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 love vacationing in Singapore. I've only been there one time. Did not spend nearly enough time there. I could definitely go there for at least a week and maybe hop over to Bali for another week. It could be like a good swing. Now, the only problem is I get affected by cat gravity, and I really start missing my two cats when it's like over 10 days. But I think I might have a 2-week trip in me to that part of the world. I think so. Yeah, come to Costa Rica. Diving on the Caribbean side is awesome. I bet. Yeah, I mean, I've dove plenty of times in the Caribbean, not in Costa Rica. I did a lot in like I did it in Grand Cayman. I did it in Cozumel, Mexico. I did it in Puerto Aventuras, Mexico. A lot of good diving there. Danny Kui, what is the current market value on Indo gold torches? Indo torches sell for a lot. Gold torches sell for a lot. Indo gold torches, it would not shock me if somebody out there has successfully sold one for $2,000 a head. So corals are like, whether you like them or not, have like this hype beast element to it. Like Supreme and all that stuff, where like people sit in line and pay like $500 for a t-shirt or $1,000 for a brick that says Supreme on it. There's a little bit of that goes on in the coral hobby. There's always going to be some irrationally hot, expensive coral, whether it's bounce mushrooms, whether it's some weird acro, whether now it is torches. Not even just Indo torches, but any torches sell for a lot of money. Squidderp 12, no offense. None taken. I don't know what you said. Hope it wasn't bannable, because you lucked out. Yeah, price ranges for torches insane. As at a frag swap today, they're going from 15 to 14.50. It's the most expensive. Yeah, it do. So torches, $50. 50. You guys can handle that. Watch, Frost will be like buying these up for me. Euphilia is expensive in general because of the Indo import ban. Possibly true, but they're expensive coming out of Australia too. And there's no ban in place. Like wholesale price on gold torches is some BS also. They're expensive. Kai Kim, I heard that Indo is opening up again. It might never. It's hard to say until it does. I mean, I've heard that Indo was going to open up every month for the past like year and a half. Ever since it went down, I've heard that it was going to open up again. It's been a little while, hasn't it? 17K on one site. I wish I could sell a torch for 17K. Let's see. Any rose bubble tips in your inventory? That I don't know. By the way, we're in overtime, so enjoy. We have until I get done drinking my not sugar cherry Coke. Yeah, so they're expensive from Australia because there's too much demand for the supply. So Eco Marines knows. She does a lot of importing from Australia. I do no importing, but I buy from importers here in the US, okay? If you guys saw how much these corals are, you would lose your damn minds. It's like, how is this hobby even remotely sustainable? I mean, it's stunning how expensive corals are. And to some degree, it makes sense because it's coming from like a million billion miles away, and it takes international treaty. You're dealing in endangered species and stuff like that, finally to get to your tank, right? But on the other hand, Like this is hilarious. So my dad was buying a television, and we ended up buying like some big 75-inch TV. So it's sitting downstairs right now, and we bought that thing for like, I don't know, let's say $1,500. That same day we had sold a $1,500 Scalemia. And my dad, who by the way loves coming to the greenhouse, loves propagating corals, would love to spend the rest of his days in and around corals, straight face said corals are such a ripoff. Because it's like, we just sold a little thing, like not much bigger than this bottle cap even. It was probably, you know, like this big, $1,500. And you can get like a 75-inch 4K TV, a Samsung, not even like a weird off-brand. It was a Samsung for that price. Yeah, it's there's some crazy math that goes into corals right now. Any rock flower anemones coming in soon? That's a good question, James. It's not because rock flower anemones are difficult to acquire for me. It's difficult for us to find homes for them right now, because the system that we were keeping them in wasn't great, and I really need to get like the aquariums downstairs up and running so that we can repurpose a lot of like larger, nicer aquariums in the greenhouse for things like rock flowers. Because I can totally see just getting hundreds of them and getting them into like the nice little neat categories that we can sell, because they're popular. It's just they're a bad fit for what they are and where we can put them currently. So that's our fault there. Well, Australia just knows that they're the only source now. That is true. That is true. Like, I don't think that they were ever expecting to handle the volume that they do. Yeah, so EcoMarines said something interesting. It's not that it's price fixing. It's a little bit of price fixing, but they have to travel really far to collect them, and the fuel is really expensive and rising. So from what I understand, sometimes it takes days to get out to a dive site. Like, it's not just like just off the coast of Australia. No, they have to go like really way the heck out there. And sometimes they can't collect for months at a time, because when they go out there, spending days to boat out there, they stay there for a long time collecting, like up to like a week or two, something like that, and then they boat all the way back. Sometimes there's like a huge storm system out there, and they just simply can't go out for like 2-3 months. So so when they finally are able to, yeah, the price is going to be kind of jacked up because the supply is so limited. I can only imagine how overgrown the mariculture farms are in Indo now. And yeah, Australia knows that they're the only source right now. I just got a text message from my vacation friends. I thought they might have been secretly telling me about my vacation. Instead, it was just one of my friends talking to me about soup. Jeff Thomas, enjoyed the live show, ran super smooth and sounded great for me. Gotta run. Awesome, Jeff. Thank you so much for attending. Have a good rest of the weekend. Okay, Murray M. Any fish recommendations for a 10-gallon nano with softies and zoas? Think about a 6-line or a Springer's Damsel. Go for the Springer's Damsel between the two. Yeah, 10 gallons are pretty darn small. That damsel is probably your best bet, and that damsel will probably do more work for you than the 6-line in a tank that size. I mean, 10 gallons really tiny. I've got a Springer's Damsel in like a 30-gallon breeder, and I think it's kind of tiny. Nash B, what was the right time to get into the hobby when corals were much cheaper? If I could go back in time, what year would it be? Here's the thing, Nash. Right now is the best time to be in the hobby. And I say that because even though coral prices are high, the level of information, the quantity of information, the level of technology is so much better now than what it ever was in the past, that it greatly exceeds the incremental cost of livestock. And you cannot save money on dead stuff. So I think that, believe it or not, you are in the golden age of this hobby, import bans and all. This is the best the hobby has ever been. Yeah, I don't even think I'm going out on a limb on that. Like compare the lighting technology now to the 90s. There's no comparison. Like what's better, a 400 watt metal halide or a 200 watt Ecotech Radeon Pro Gen 4? There's no question, right? Compare like the efficiency of like protein skimmers back then, like a Venturi protein skimmer back then, to a needle wheel, like a high performance needle wheel now. There's no similarities, especially once you start talking about automation and wiping blades. And like I said, Rossmont is working on that scheduling system that can coordinate with automatic feeding. There's ICP testing. There's continuous monitoring solutions from like Neptune and Alcatronic and Mindstream, sort of, when they start accepting orders again. Mindstream. Yeah, the level that people are doing the hobby now. You don't want cheaper corals. You want better corals, which again, there's better corals in the industry now than there's ever been. So yeah, enjoy the right now. Yeah, in the 90s, the best you could do for filtration was an eShop's wet dry sump. Yeah. Lou, any tips on how to deal with fermented snails? Anything that would eat it? Some people say bumblebees, snails, or something like that eat fermented snails. I have never really tried that before. Your best bet is to physically remove them yourself. You are the cleanup crew this time, Lou. Unfiltered reefer with $1.99. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate the super chat. Okay, so Unfiltered had asked, I joined late but just picked up some frags. Awesome. Also appreciate that. Like I said, I got big bills coming. My wife calls it Coral QVC. Thanks. Indo will be back. Open CITES and prices will drop. Here's the thing. Maybe they won't drop. Like, did you ever think about this for just a sec, that like the market has demonstrated its willingness to pay a lot of money for coral? If I was Indonesia, I'd be like, this is gonna like bring some serious GDP to our economy right here, because we have Google. They can search for like tidal gardens and see what I'm charging for coral. They're looking at their holding tanks and like, maybe we don't sell this thing for like $1.50. Maybe we sell this thing for $30.50 now. And whatever you want Indo corals, that's what we're doing now. Like, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that A, they're going to open back up, or B, that prices are going to be that good on some of this stuff. You know, like the information flow is very different now. And if you don't believe me that like I think that they are savvy enough to do something like that, like I think people have this messed up idea of what Indonesia is like. I mean, did you know that like Jakarta has as many people living there as New York City? You know, there's like big industry going on there. So again, yeah, I mean, I fully embrace getting some Indo corals back into the trade here, but I think some of this stuff might be highly optimistic at best right now. Flamingo Legs Films. Hopefully the prices stay high enough to get people to start aquaculturing more and limit what we need to import. That's one way to look at it too. For me, I think that if there's any mentality change that I kind of like with high pricing, is that it kind of forces people to take that additional step husbandry wise. So where like I think sometimes like if it was like a, you know, that cheap goldfish mentality that is in like, you know, casual people in the hobby might have, you see, obviously, you see this more in the freshwater side. Oh, who cares? That fish costs a quarter. They don't have that feeling when it's like that coral cost a house payment. It's very different like mentality, and I like the latter. You know, it's like I think if we're taking corals out of the ocean, and I think that there is this obligation to like take really good care of them, and kind of this throwaway disposable mentality of like live animals, live fish, things of that sort. I kind of bristle at that. So I do appreciate how there's this mentality shift away from that throwaway disposable, oh who cares, it was just a nickel for that goldfish, to oh my god, I've had the worst year ever because I lost a master scully. Like that's where I would much rather the industry be. I want like these corals, if you lose a coral, I want it to be a crushing loss, because I think that is a much, in its own way, much healthier mindset. It's a much more empathetic mindset, if nothing else. Let's see. Nashby, thanks for today's live stream and tips. Enjoy the weekend. Thank you so much for attending. Will there be a Halloween stream? Unfortunately, I don't think that there is. If it is, it's going to be super stealth and last minute, because this normally would have been. I just wasn't feeling it. Carl Mullinex, I'm really enjoying this live stream. Sorry I haven't stopped in before. Hey, you're here now, right, Carl? So welcome. Glad you could make it. Bahama Llama Coral. Than, do you have a favorite leather coral? I really like giant green toadstool leathers. That's probably my favorite. Like when they get, I have some truly massive ones. Like I've got this 200 and something gallon glass aquarium in the greenhouse. It's totally neglected. I barely ever even look at it. And we put some toadstools in there like a couple years, 3 years ago maybe. And they're ginormous now. They might be all of like 18 inches across, each of them. And they're pretty impressive. They're not the green ones though. They're like the tan colored guys, but still, it's like such a big, giant, impressive coral. I think that those are the types of corals that I'm probably going to keep in my, in kind of like my mixed reef show tank here, that, you know, with the, what do you call it? With the mangroves and everything like that. It'd be really just dramatic just to see enormous colonies like that. Excuse me. Kai Kim, I like the way of thinking. I've never thought of it that way. Yeah, I mean, it's also like, it's unpopular because like people want cheap stuff, right? That's why Amazon is like so successful. It's like, it is like, everything is like cheap throwaway stuff. But yeah, when it comes to this hobby, and well, but to think of that just for a sec, right? So you have like these animals that cost you a fortune to acquire, right? In some cases, like it's not even a matter of, oh, that was an expensive coral. You were lucky to begin with to even have the opportunity to buy that coral. Like for example, so I will get to my point, but I'll just give this example first. If you, let's just say, okay, I need to save some money. I'm going to get a wholesale, I'm going to get a retail license to shop at the wholesale level. And let's just say that you are somehow able to cherry pick some corals at the wholesaler, okay? And you see the most monstrously awesome acanthophilia. Like it's saved back from the days when Indo was open. This thing has 9 colors in it, right? And you'll be like, I want that coral, and I want the 3 gold torches, and I want this Australian master scully. And right there, the guys can be like, time out. None of those corals are going to be sold to you, first of all. Those guys are going to be sold to long-standing customers that have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars here this year. Okay, so first off, like, those great corals are completely out of the question. And not only that, when it comes time for that one monster acanthophilia, the once in a lifetime acanthophilia, to be sold to somebody, you'd better believe that that person had to buy probably 50 other corals in order to get that one. And it's not the 50 of the other nice corals. It's the 50 of the other, I probably can't sell this as a wholesaler. You need to like unload my trash for me also to get that coral. So you might be paying 4 figures, maybe even close to 5 for this at the wholesale level. And you need to also buy 5 figures of trash that you really didn't want. That's this type of math. So that is just at the wholesale buying level. At the retail level, yeah, sometimes you're just lucky that that thing has a price tag that will somehow accept a credit card. So my point is that when you have something like that sitting in your tank, not only are you not thinking in terms of it's a throwaway goldfish, right? Because that thing probably could have put your kid through a semester of college at this point. But it's also, you're looking at the entire system. Suddenly, nothing is like off the table. Like all this equipment just became cost no object to keep it alive. And I think that just having like the livestock price right now also kind of like makes it a better mindset to do, just basically be a better hobbyist, right? Like figure out what are the best practices. You're going to be on Reef Dudes more, watching his reviews of equipment. You're going to be watching my videos about specific corals. You might be on Reef Builders when he talks about like all the new products that he's seeing and all the different trends and all the different experts. You're going to be on BRS, listening to their equipment reviews and watching their experimental videos where they kind of like try to debunk concepts in the hobby. And all of that plays into, I think, like just a better ecosystem for this entire hobby, which kind of is necessary because there are forces that be that desperately want to shut down this entire show, right? Like, don't even get that twisted. This hobby, for people that are not in this hobby, oh my gosh. Like, we are the reason why the entire ocean is full of plastic. Like, seriously. Like, they think that this entire hobby is the devil. So, like, the better we are at it helps to, like, diffuse some of that hatred. So, anyway, rant over. We have this much left in overtime. Let's see. Where were we in chat? I'm way behind. Yeah, Sean Crewell. I can't bring myself to frag my Monty cap. It's too big, but nobody I know wants frags of it. And I can't stand the thought of just throwing away a live animal in the trash. I'm in the same boat. There are a few different types of corals that we have that are simply outpacing our ability to sell it. So I think that in the coming months, we're just going to like seriously just fire sale the stuff. I just essentially trying to find a good home for it for people that want it. And I'm essentially at that point buying back my own space in my systems. Yeah, I would just go to like a local frag swap or something like that, offer it up for free. Somebody will take it. Like, I guarantee there are people that will take stuff for free. Okay. Yeah, nobody I know wants it. Yeah, it's nobody you know wants it. Somebody out there wants it. Offer it up to the public. Reef Rainer, Rainer Trofer, do you recommend buying large or small colonies? I recommend buying small colonies, but not too small. If they're too small, you run the risk of like some fish that might not normally mess with the coral will mess with an itty bitty thing. If you buy it too large, sometimes the shape of the coral was kind of optimized for its old tank, not your tank necessarily. So that can kind of mess with it, and oftentimes, especially SPS, might die back as a result. So I would say small to medium sized. Flamingo Legs Films, really enjoying this. Thanks, Dan. You're welcome. Glad you're enjoying it. Thanks for hanging out. Ecomarine says, you saw I have plenty of things as a wholesaler I really don't want to sell. Yeah. So I was like giving Laura at Ecomarines a lot of grief. I'm like, you need to empty this place, sell everything. And she's just like, I am not selling this or this or this or this. Like, you know, like, so my mom was also like very sentimental about certain pieces. Like, I don't want you to sell these. I'm like, we're in the business of selling coral, people. Like, this is what we do here. And like, so sometimes Ben is like, we can't sell this because if we sell it, then we won't have any. And I'm like, Ben, if I could, I would empty this whole building out and deal with my not having coral part later. Like, give me the cash flow, right? But anyway, that's, yeah, you need to sell the corals. Greg Reef Boy, thanks Dan for a really nice show and good information for the hobby. Can't wait to see the rest of your tanks all set up and plumbed. Me either. Shout out to Ben. He has a good eye for cherry picks. Yeah, Ben's good. Ben's real good. So you know what? I'm just like so glad right now that like I've got Ben full time and I got this new person, Luke, part time, and Luke is set to work full time starting in 2020, which is coming right up. I am so lucky to have like good staff, and hopefully I'll be able to find a good intern, not on the reef aquarium side of things, but more on the media production side of things. I'm working with like a university, and hopefully I can find a good candidate or two for that. But yeah, it's if any of you guys are business owners, you know, like finding good people is like, it is just the best feeling. So good. All right, we're almost done. What should I say? I'm almost done. I don't even know who's playing in college football today. I'm not really following the season too closely because my team sucks. I'm a Michigan Wolverines fan. It's not exactly a good reason to tune in, I guess. But I am interested to see the other train wreck team that I kind of follow for the NFL. My Browns playing the Patriots tomorrow. I don't know why I'm excited about that game. I don't know how that's gonna go. Let's be real, right? All right, we're done ski. So thank you all so much for attending. I'm gonna say another quick shout out to all the delightful people on Patreon that help support this channel. So real quick, here we go. Juanita Threlkeld, Reef_Daddy, Jeremy Altman, aka 2Please, Nick Korn. I didn't see Nick in chat today. I have a feeling that he's at the local frag swap that's just now wrapping up. So yeah, so there's a frag swap up the road about maybe like 45 minutes. I didn't travel to that frag swap, but I went all the way to the UK to go to 2 frag swaps. Insanity. Sean Gill, Bill Russell, Brandy Camp, Tim Garner, Harkins Aquatics. Didn't see Harkins either in chat. Huh. Diane Rishworth, Jennifer D. Nash, Zara McIntosh, Catherine Kehoe, Ann Lyons, Gwen Nicodemus, Lisa Lacry Fine Arts, Christopher Frame, Tasha Radich, The Classroom Reef, Chuck Admire, Jean A. Van Voorst, Rico's Aquariums, Christopher H. Curry, Alan Jackson, Trevor Joseph Overbeck, Kevin Cortez, Steve Pond, Ryan Kern, Nate Bowler, Ernest Wallace Jr., Dave Davis, and Elizabeth Dowell. Thank you all so much. Thanks everybody for the super chats. I know they got a bunch of $1.99s in there. Trust me, it adds up. Give me some Mexican Coke, right? So anyway, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we are gonzo.